All right, let's jump right into a wild thought experiment. What if we never had to eat again? And I don't mean just, skipping lunch. I mean a future where food, the very idea of it, is obsolete. We're going to explore what that world would look like, how it would be completely dismantled, starting right on your dinner plate.
So, just imagine for a second. We solve world hunger. Poof, gone. We get rid of all agricultural waste, and we perfect human nutrition. All with one single elegant solution. Some kind of universally available synthetic food source. On the surface, it sounds incredible, right? But what would that world actually look like?
Okay, first things first, let's get the science straight. You know that sci-fi dream, the one where you just pop a tiny pill and you're good for the day? Yeah, that's a total myth. The laws of thermodynamics just don't work that way. See, 2,000 calories of energy actually has to have mass. So forget the pill. What we're really talking about is something more like a dense, half-kilo nutrient block. The delivery method is different from the movies, sure, but the outcome? It's exactly the same. The complete and total end of food as we know it.
So, with food suddenly made obsolete, you might think the first big change would be cultural. But nope. The very first domino to fall is economic. And believe me, it doesn't just fall, it crashes down, triggering what would probably be the most rapid and catastrophic financial collapse in all of human history.
Just try to wrap your head around this number, 1.3 billion people. That's nearly 40% of the entire global workforce instantly unemployed. We're talking the entire agri-food system here, from the farmer in the field to the fisherman on the boat to the person stocking shelves at your local store, all of it just gone. The human cost of this so-called efficiency is, well, it's almost impossible to even imagine.
And right along with all those jobs, the markets disappear. The global food and beverage market, that little thing valued at over $8 trillion, it doesn't just shrink, it evaporates, vanishes into thin air. Every bit of projected growth, every investment, all that capital, just gone overnight.
But wait, because the biggest, most staggering number might be this one. Almost $48 trillion. That's the value of all the farmland on the planet. And when nutrition comes out of a factory, well, all that land, all that soil, it suddenly becomes worthless for growing things. This entire asset class, we're talking an amount of wealth that makes the economies of most countries look small, it collapses to basically zero.
And you've got to understand, this isn't just about farms. It's a total system-wide shutdown. Let's just zoom in on the U.S. restaurant industry for a second. That's almost 16 million jobs gone. A $1.5 trillion industry gone. And with it, the main entry-level job for most young people just disappears. That single change would warp the labor market for generations to come.
Okay, so this massive economic earthquake doesn't just crash stock markets, right? It physically reshapes our world. The actual surface of the planet, the way our cities are laid out, even the design of our own homes, all of it would be changed forever.
With farming totally gone, an absolutely incredible 37% of the Earth's entire land area, that's 4.8 billion hectares, is suddenly available. An area that we as a species have used for farming for thousands of years is now just a blank canvas. This opens up possibilities on a scale we've literally never seen before.
And in our cities, the change would be just as dramatic. Think about it. Grocery stores, restaurants, all that prime commercial real estate, it's now totally obsolete. Overnight. You'd see a massive price collapse for sure, followed by this frantic scramble to redevelop everything. Your old supermarket might become apartments, or, kind of ironically, a logistics hub for shipping out the very nutrient blocks that put it out of business.
But this whole thing gets even more personal when you look inside your own home, the kitchen. What we call the heart of the home. It would just vanish from modern architecture. No more need for ovens, refrigerators, countertops. The average home would instantly get back something like 150 to 400 square feet of living space. And you can bet that homes built in the future, they wouldn't have kitchens at all.
Now, I know you're probably thinking, all of this sounds incredibly efficient. And it must be a huge win for the environment, right? No more cows, no more deforestation. Sounds like a green utopia. Well, yeah, it's a lot more complicated than that. See, on the one hand, the environmental gains are absolutely staggering. We'd immediately stop pumping 16.2 billion tons of CO2 into the air from agriculture every single year. On top of that, letting all those billions of hectares of farmland go back to nature, what's called rewilding, could pull down another 8.9 billion tons of CO2. I mean, on paper, this looks like the single biggest climate victory in the history of the world.
But, and this is a huge but, there's a catch. Where does the absolutely colossal amount of energy to create this stuff for 8 billion people come from? You know, plants, they just use the sun. It's free. We, on the other hand, would have to use industrial power.
And this is where we hit the paradox. The numbers show that to synthesize all this nutrient paste, we'd need about 146 exajoules of energy. I know, that number is pretty much meaningless, so let me put it this way. That would increase our entire global industrial energy demand by up to 80%. And if we tried to power all that with our current fossil fuel grid, whoa! The new emissions wouldn't just cancel out all the gains, they could actually make climate change even worse.
So we've covered the economy, real estate, the climate, but the final and maybe the most profound consequence of a world without eating, well, it's written directly on the human body itself. This is where our little thought experiment gets really, really personal.
What's so fascinating is how this change happens. We're not talking about slow burn Darwinian evolution playing out over thousands of years. We're talking about something called phenotypic plasticity. All that means is that your body's physical shape can change, and change dramatically, within your own lifetime, just based on signals from your environment. And the huge signal we'd be switching off? The simple physical force of chewing.
And the wild thing is, this is already happening. It's just in slow motion. You look at hunter-gatherers, they ate tough, fibrous foods, and they had these massive, strong jaws. Then came agriculture, then the industrial era, and our food got softer and more processed. Our jaws started to shrink. That's why we had this modern epidemic of crowded teeth and sleep apnea. All our little experiment does is slam the accelerator on that process and put it into hyperdrive.
And the consequence here, it's pretty much unavoidable. A generation of kids raised without ever having to chew would grow up with a totally different facial structure. Their jaws just wouldn't grow properly. We're talking severely receded chins, teeth so crowded it's a universal problem, and constricted airways that would make things like sleep apnea the new global norm.
So let's just pull back and recap for a second. On the gains side, we have incredible efficiency, the potential for a huge environmental win, and an end to world hunger. Pretty amazing. But on the losses side, we have a shattered global economy, the complete erasure of countless human cultures built around food, and a fundamental, physical reshaping of the human body itself.
You know, this all really boils down to a core lesson about our own biology. Our bodies, they aren't just designed to be fueled like a car. They're designed to do the work of living. We evolved under constant physical stress, and when you take away a fundamental stress, like chewing, the very structure that's supposed to handle that work, well, it just doesn't develop.
And that leaves us with one final big question, doesn't it? In our relentless ongoing search for optimization and efficiency, we could, theoretically, solve some of our biggest problems. But in the process, we might end up trading away something absolutely essential about our economy, about our planet, and about what it even means to be human. So the question is, what's the right price to pay?